Hey guys, and welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer board game review. And today's game up on the tabletop is Age of Bitcoin by 4 Games. This is a 2 to 4 player Euro style stock market or like investment style game in which you're going to be basically utilizing your currency to invest in Bitcoin, to invest in stocks or just straight up investments, and to invest in gold, all while tracking the market prices, trying to improve or reduce some of them, and selling off to make more money. At the end of the 5th round, you're going to have a scoring phase, in which case whoever has the most points is the winner in the game Age of Bitcoin. We'll talk about the setup, how to play, and of course, my review. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up the game now. And the first thing you do is you take the circular tile and place it within reach of all players in the middle of the game board. This is going to be the Bitcoin Trust kind of meter. You'll also take this see-through token here and place it in the slot that is indicated at the top with the arrow pointing up. You're also going to make sure this is the 1 to 2 variant of the game. And once it's placed in here, then you're going to place the rest of the boards. Each of the boards are going to have a 1 to 2 or 3 or more player side. Go ahead and make sure you get the 1 to 2 when you're playing with 1 to 2 players and 3 to 4 when you're playing with 3 to 4, and then slot them in. You're going to have the blue board at the top, the breaking news and FOMO board at the bottom, and then on the left-hand side is going to be your Bitcoin and education, and your investments in gold on the right. And then in between each of these, you're going to place your gold, your Bitcoin, your education, and your investments. Once you've done that, you're going to fill the board in. The first thing you're going to do is going to take the round marker and place it on the number 1 in the middle of the game board. You'll see that there's a round 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which is the end of the game. And then you're going to take the number of players playing, and each of them are going to have a meeple. Take those meeples and place them on the first and second player slot. That will determine who gets to go first. And my suggestion is the person who last invested in Bitcoin, gold, or a stock is the player who starts first and proceeds from there. The bottom is your breaking news deck and your FOMO deck. Basically, there's only 5 rounds in the game, but 4 is where you're going to be actually utilizing these. Take 4 of each of these cards from the decks after they've been shuffled and place them in these slots here. The other 2 boards on the left and right hand side are going to be empty for now. These are where you place your workers to gain investments, Bitcoin, education, and gold. Then each of the boards. The Bitcoin board is going to hold your Bitcoin die, all the Bitcoin that you're going to gain from the supply, and then a number of slots of circles indicated the Bitcoin symbol. Place a Bitcoin in each of those slots, and then on the FOMO track, you'll have the see-through dial here. Place it on 0. For the gold, you do the same thing. FOMO will go to 0, and all the gold will be in the supply here. Your education, you're going to have an education deck. Shuffle this deck all up, and then place it next to the board, and deal out 3 from top to bottom. Place your FOMO at 0. And then finally, as far as this investment area is concerned, you'll basically be taking the tier 1 investment deck, shuffling it, and dealing out 1 to each of the 9 spaces, and then taking the FOMO, putting it at 0, and inflation, and you'll start that at 0 as well. You're going to need this secondary deck to be shuffled. It's a tier 2, but you're only going to use this for round 4, so you can set it aside for now, but it will come into play later. And that is the main game boards. But there are 2 more things you'll need to focus on. One of them is going to be the Bitcoin and gold charts. This is like the stock charts or the valuation of the currency at the time. And it's going to go up and down using these magnetic strips. Go ahead and set these boards up just as you see here, and have one for gold and one for Bitcoin. And then prepare it by placing all the stock market indicators adjacent to it in some area so that people can reach and place it and increase it as the game progresses. Then you have your main game board. Your main game board is going to give you a number of currency, and the currency is going to be based on your turn order. So if you're going first, you'll get 30, and then if you're going second, you'll get 32, and then 34. You'll get more money as you have to wait on turns. Everybody's going to get a slot for Bitcoin, a slot for an investment, and a slot for gold. They already start that way. The rest of your board is actually going to have these Bitcoin and gold markers that you'll place in the slots and place them on the check marks. These are spaces that are going to block your ability to get more gold and of course Bitcoin, but as you progress the game, you will unlock them. You'll turn them to the right and allow yourself to gain more. You're also going to get a deck of cards that are both front and back the same, because all they're going to do is block the spaces for your investments on your left and right hand side of your game board. Just go ahead and place 7 of them from left to right, top to bottom, and leave the top space open because you start with 1 free slot. You can place your money in the bottom center area. Go ahead and take your your little marker here and place it on the light bulb. This is where you gain experience and you're getting more victory points, as well as it kind of gives you a set of money that you'll be income every round that you'll be utilizing to purchase gold and Bitcoin. And then you have your worker. This worker will stay somewhere on your game board, but it will eventually go here on this main game board and start moving around. Go ahead and take the rest of the money. This is where you're going to be gaining money, and place it somewhere within reach of all players. And the scoreboard, which you'll use at the end of the game, set it aside. Okay, let's play some Age of Bitcoin. Alright, so how do I play the game Age of Bitcoin? Well, luckily for us, we have a player aid here that will explain how the game goes. And there are 3 phases to the game. There's the setup phase, the action phase, and the cleanup phase. During the setup phase, the first thing that you will do is move the round marker. Now, in the first round, you won't do that. It already starts at 1, but progressively, you will move it from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and 4 to 5. Then you are going to basically place a marker on the education space from the top of the space to the bottom. There are these little block out markers. You'll place them on the 7 and then the 6, and so you'll gain less education as the game goes on, or less availability to gain education as the game goes on. But once again, for the first round, you do not do this. Then you're going to move on to inflation. Sadly, every phase, inflation increases, just like in the real world, and so you'll have to move that marker up 1 space. Then finally, you're going to draw a breaking news card. Breaking news cards are found at this little deck area here where you start with 4 of them, and you will reveal it and do what it says. Sometimes it will increase the cost of gold or bitcoins or inflation, or maybe perhaps your investments will get a higher value, and depending on the trust of Bitcoin, things will happen as well. But for the first round, you don't do that. But just to kind of give you an idea of what the setup phase is going to be like, that is what you'll do for every setup phase after the first round. When setup is done, which will be done after you set up for the first round, you're going to move on to actions. And actions are pretty simple. Every player starts with a meeple. And that meeple is your worker. You only get 1 worker in the entire game, and you're going to place it on one of the spaces to perform the actions. And there's a number of spaces on the game board. You're going to have the Bitcoin space. You're going to have the space where you're going to be able to increase your mining rigs to hopefully get free Bitcoin. You're going to have a space to end your round, be like, okay, I'm done. I'm just going to end here, and this is the spot I'm going to be in for the next round in order to gain a little bit of money and also the turn order. The gold space to buy and sell gold, just like you would with Bitcoin. And investments, where you buy and sell investments, just like you would get Bitcoin and gold. And on the left-hand side is education. This is a spot where you'll be able to buy education cards for a currency base, and then you're going to be able to unlock slots to purchase more Bitcoin, gold, and investments. So to get educated, it will let you then get more currency, and then the currency is used to then be able to sell off for value when these kind of stats increase. Hopefully Bitcoin goes up, you can sell Bitcoin at a higher rate. It drops down, you buy it again. It goes up, you sell it, and so on and so forth. That's the dream, right? And so you'll be basically doing this. You'll go through each of the spaces and you will spend money, generally speaking, and purchase these things, placing them on your game board until you no longer have any money left, or you don't want to do anything. You want to maybe save your money, or you're afraid the crash is going to happen. You'll just end here, and everyone else will continue for 2 rounds until they also will end. And once that happens, then it is done. There's no more actions to take place, and we'll move on to the cleanup. And the cleanup, you're going to start by taking a FOMO card. Just kind of like the breaking news card for the setup, you're going to actually draw one of these guys and see what happens. Maybe Bitcoin is going to go up by 2 and gold will go up by 2. Maybe your investments will drop by 1. It's a random kind of set type of events that will happen from that deck. And then after you've kind of finished that, you will check to see, did anything crash? And how that works is you have your FOMO. And the FOMO, whenever it reaches the top slot, it'll have this kind of explosion. That will crash that specific type of currency, and you'll have to go through a number of steps, which we'll cover after I kind of explain the full game. But if a crash happens, you will complete the crash. If multiple crashes happen, you'll go from crash to crash to crash and complete each of them. Then you're going to gain your income. Your income is on your player board, and it's based on your experience. You'll start with 18, you can go all the way up to 22. It just depends on wherever that little light bulb symbol is. And it's also going to give you a certain amount of victory points in the game as well. And then you're also going to get to roll the Bitcoin die. Once at the end of every round, you'll take this die here, you'll roll it, and based on how strong your mining rig is, it will determine whether you get a free Bitcoin. In my case, right now, I only have a less than 2 chance, so I have to roll a 1. So you can upgrade it all the way up to a less than 6 chance, which will give you an opportunity to roll from 1 to 5, but there's a cost to upgrading your rig. So roll the die, hopefully gain a Bitcoin. And then finally, you're going to have to discard any certain investments or whatever it is you might have there removed, and as well as their little pawns. And that will basically end the cleanup phase. And you'll rinse and repeat. You'll start again. You'll be able to move this marker, this round marker over, and you're going to then decrease the education ability, increase the cost of inflation, and draw breaking news. Take your actions. Check to see if anybody ends, in which case everybody will have to end in a certain number of turns. Check your FOMO for cleanup, check to see if any explosions happen, gain your income, roll your Bitcoin die, and settle up. And that is the game. You'll progress up to 5 rounds, and then you'll do a scoring at the end of those rounds. So how about crashes? What happens? Well, each of the individual currencies kind of crash differently. Like, for instance, when Bitcoin crashes, the value of Bitcoin will drop by 2, and gold will increase by 1. You're also going to lose a free slot or a slot of Bitcoin that you acquired, and if you had a Bitcoin there, you have to sell that off, and the world trust in Bitcoin will reduce. Well, speaking of world trust, whenever that world trust symbol pops up, it'll say +1, -1, +2. You'll be moving this little dial to the right, for the most part, or to the left whenever the trust decreases. And based on where this dial is, that will determine the value of trust in Bitcoin, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Now, if you're really invested in Bitcoin in this game, you want it to be as high as possible so that it's the most trusted currency. It feels like it's locked in. This is a currency. Whereas at 1, people are like, this is not a currency. And that will determine how valuable Bitcoin can be. And so that is what happens when Bitcoin crashes. And that happens whenever the FOMO meter hits the top portion. Gold is the same way. Gold will drop down, but Bitcoin is not really affected. You'll lose a slot of gold and have to sell off that gold. Education, however, the FOMO meter of all of the other boards will increase by +1. Education will lose 1. You're going to reset the FOMO meter of the education to 0 and discard the education cards and refresh them. And then the last one is your investments here. This is like your stocks, your luxury watch you bought, your property insurance, etc., etc. Gold and Bitcoin will go up, provided that gold always goes up, but provided that Bitcoin has a high enough trust value, then Bitcoin will also go up when your investments go down. And a number of other things. You're going to have to you're going to pay a certain number based on the upkeep of your cards that you have on your board, or sell them, and you'll lose a slot as well, just like any other crash. And so that's basically how the game works. Play through the rounds. At the 5th round, you're going to score up, and whoever has the most points is the winner. And there you go. That's Age of Bitcoin. The last thing really to discuss, I suppose, is how these boards work. When Bitcoin goes up, or gold, you're going to take this meter, and let's say it's +2, and it'll go up 2 spots from 3 to 7. If it goes up again, maybe it goes up by +1, then it will go from 7 to 9. Let's say it goes down 2. Well, then it'll go from 9 down to 5. And you just want to put these pieces adjacent to each other, and it'll eventually make kind of a grid. And so you'll start to see the kind of graph that will base how high a value Bitcoin is or how low. And it really depends on whether or not it's crashing or surging, and how you choose to utilize this board during your game to hopefully score you additional value. Now, of course, as we know, Bitcoin always goes up, so hopefully that's the case for you guys as well. And the same can be said for gold. But I think now that you got that idea and how the game kind of works, maybe a few things I left out, but it's a good enough idea of what Age of Bitcoin is about. Let's talk about what I think. So this is an investment euro, and you're going to be utilizing your character to move around the different game boards, going on Bitcoin, purchasing it at its current cost, increasing FOMO whenever you do. Every time you hit a board, you're going to increase that FOMO board, and taking the Bitcoin that you want. You can have as many Bitcoin and gold as you want, but you're limited on your investments and your education. And you're also limited on how many spaces you have available to purchase your Bitcoin and gold on your actual player board, right? And the less Bitcoin they are, the more expensive they are, or the more there are, the cheaper they are. And of course, this FOMO board not only is going to crash at a certain point, but it's also going to increase the value of Bitcoin the more that it is bought before it has to crash and go back down to 0. And so you're kind of leveraging Bitcoin with gold and your investments, and kind of creating this diversity of a portfolio. If Bitcoin's going to crash, you want to stay away from it and start investing in gold and sell off your Bitcoin before it does. And the same is said for gold and investments. maybe you don't have enough education to understand how to purchase Bitcoin and gold and investments, and so you have to go to school. And so you'll take your marker, place it over here, increase the FOMO track just like the rest of them, and then buy one of these. And based on how much trust in Bitcoin there is, you can actually purchase via Bitcoin. If you don't have trust in Bitcoin, then you can just simply purchase with money, which is typically what you're going to be purchasing with throughout this game. And then you're going to be able to gain experience that will increase your income and victory points at the end of the game, as well as you have the option of choosing to increase one of your 2 slots or 3 slots, your education, your gold, or Bitcoin, by moving those markers to the side with the card. You discard the card, and then you'll get a new card. And at the end of every round, too, I forgot to mention, you'll actually be discarding the cards on the bottom rows and adding new cards from the deck. And in the 4th round, you'll add the tier 2, but for now, we're just going to increase it with the tier 1 for your investments. And for your education, you'll just be adding in a card to the top and pushing all of them to the bottom. Over here on the gold, it functions just like Bitcoin. You'll increase the marker by 1 when you place your character there. You're also then going to take as much gold as you want based on the cost, which is associated with this board here. Right now, gold is at 4, and Bitcoin is at a whopping 15. Probably won't be like that in your game, the fact that there's no Bitcoin markers, but just so you get the idea. And you'll purchase that and you can put on your game board, and you have to actually have the slots open to do so. Investments, you'll be able to purchase one of those, and the cost is going to be stated on the card itself, plus any bonus costs that may be associated. The higher the card is up on the rows, the more expensive they are, the lower, the cheaper they are. And just like Bitcoin, you'll also have to move this up, and like gold and education. FOMO is always going to increase the more you purchase. The more purchased a thing is, the more people want it, and they're going to fear missing out on that thing because there's less of it to have, right? Not everybody can have a fancy watch. And that is how each of the spaces work. Other than, of course, the cool way of kind of like ending, you can end a little earlier to get in position for the next round and set yourself up. Or if you want to purchase slots for your mining machine to basically give you free Bitcoin, which can generate you some value, especially if Bitcoin goes up later in the game, and you're kind of gambling on this space as well. And that's pretty much all the spaces, and how you're kind of going back and forth and deciding what you want will be up to you in this game. And there's no real wrong answer based on the market, right? You're gonna have to choose based on whatever your market is and determine what's best for you and when you want to buy and sell. And things can happen. Things can crash when you're not expecting them to. Obviously, with more players comes a lot more volatility, which I obviously think is a lot more fun. Playing this game, definitely at 4 players is what I would recommend, but it plays really well at 2. It plays really well at 3 as well. I enjoyed this game through all the player bases. As long as you don't mind kind of an investment style Euro game, this one does a great job of explaining how Bitcoin works, explaining how kind of stocks works and gold, and how they kind of work with each other and work against each other in certain ways. This is like, I really wish kids at school played this game to understand the basic concept of investments and how things move up and down. It utilizes this cool track, or cool tracks, I should say, for gold and Bitcoin, allowing you to kind of see the trends. And based on gold surging, and maybe Bitcoin starts to surge, or gold crashes, and so Bitcoin goes way up because there's a lot of trust in Bitcoin, or nobody trusts Bitcoin right now. It's kind of a dead coin. I want to invest in gold. I want to invest in my investments like my property insurance or whatever it might be. And so you have to decide based on whatever the market is. And that works great for a market game. Your player board is awesome too. I love the idea of gaining experience through knowledge. It gives you more income because you have a better job, gives you victory points at the end of the game. It allows you to unlock new spaces for Bitcoin and for gold, thusly giving you the option to be able to kind of purchase new things and gain more benefit in the long run for your investments. And that comes with age, which comes with experience, which comes with education, no matter how you choose to get it. And it does a great job of explaining that. In fact, there's also, from what I've gathered, character boards that will be different. Right now, I just have the regular investor, tells you the setup and how much gold you get, but there will be additional investors that you'll be able to select and choose and utilize that will function a little differently, kind of like they're all balanced, but some are better in certain areas than others. I also really like the idea of each space being locked out at any given period of time. And you have to move from here to here to here, and eventually you'll get to make that choice or that space for an investment if it's available. And if not, you have to kind of manipulate the market so that it benefits you. And so that it kind of allowing Bitcoin to crash. Everybody's investing in Bitcoin, we're getting it too high, let's try and find a way to reduce the value of Bitcoin and increase my value in gold, which is what I have. Trust is too high in Bitcoin, it needs to drop. And of course, the obvious FOMO cards and breaking news cards that just periodically change the game based on how the public opinion is of these type of investments, or yeah, these investments that you're kind of utilizing throughout the game. It works well. It's fun. It has a great style to it. It's very simplistic in nature, and there's symbols for everything that explain what you need to do when you need to do it with your cards here. Now, the rules can use some polishing. This is a prototype, and so there's little things that were kind of left out in the rules, but I was able to pick them up just based on looking at the symbology of the game. And where everything kind of goes, like understanding that what the trust looks like and the symbol for that, or understanding what the cog is for how you have to deal with your investments when you have to pay this kind of upkeep cost. So I'm not going to really fault it for that. I don't think that's fair to do so. But I would say, if you do not like investment games that are harsh, this is a harsh game, limited spaces available for players, limited options when a lot of players are kind of bulking up the board and having to make some tough decisions. This is going to be one of those more combative, aggressive, kind of games where you're focusing on getting as much as you can for the spaces you're able to get. And that's what the game is all about. It's a great investment game, it's a great educational tool, and it's a lot of fun. I loved utilizing these game boards, I love utilizing my meeple, and I liked how quick the rounds are and how simple it is to understand once you understand what one of the boards does, kind of understand what all of them do. If you're looking for an investment game, it's also a Euro. This game is not one I would sleep on. Age of Bitcoin, it's a lot of fun, high quality, works really well for me. Art's good. I don't got a whole lot negative to say about it, but I know there's going to be an audience for this, and some people are probably not going to like it just based on the theme and style of the game. And, you know, it's obviously Bitcoin related, so that's going to be a push and pull for some people as well. But if you're a Bitcoin player, they're going to be on this one. Thank you guys for watching their Unfiltered Gamer board game review for the game Age of Bitcoin. If you're interested in picking up this title, there's a link down below in the description. This game is currently available on Kickstarter. And of course, if you'd like, we have a live stream every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. PST, and this game we will be playing next Sunday. You can go ahead and check us out on there to see the game played live. See if it's something you'd enjoy playing. We do a live stream every Sunday at 7:30, and you can watch us play games from horror games to investment Euros to deck builders. We do it all on there, and we've been doing it for many years. So this is the best way, in my opinion, to determine if the game is right for you, is to watch how it's played, see the interactions, and determine if it's something you'd like. But either way, Age of Bitcoin, in my opinion, is a solid pickup for those of you investment players, Euro-style investment players, people who love Bitcoin, people who love the gold. Like, I got a number of people I'm already thinking about who are going to really enjoy this title, and hopefully you will as well. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I look forward to investing in some crypto with you guys next time.